Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Core and Restore. I hope you all had a fabulous week. When we're ready, we're going to begin down on the mat. We're going to need our Pilates ball for our first track of the day. I'm going to turn on our video here really quick. So we'll grab that Pilates ball, bring it somewhere nearby so we can easily grab it. For my folks that are watching from home, if you have a pillow, that works perfectly for this. We're going to come on down to the mat. We're going to come on down to our seated position. We're going to press those seat bones into the mat. We're going to bring our hands to the nooks of our knees and gently lower on down to the mat. From here, we're going to need that Pilates ball. We're going to place it underneath our tailbone here. So we're going to think about pressing it kind of just below the small of our back here. And this is going to help us find that guiding core alignment. We're going to bring those feet just a little bit further than palms distance away from our booties to stabilize. From here we can bring those hands, palms are going to be facing down toward the ground here. And this is also going to help us with this balance portion. We're going to begin by finding our alignment in this position. We'll just take a couple breaths here. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. We want to think about pressing our feet into the ground and using that core to stabilize us in this position. From here, let's lift those hands on up. We're going to make a little diamond position here. So we make a little diamond with our hand, and then we'll set that on top of our pubic bone. We're going to come into some pelvic tilts here and just focus on finding some control on those deep core muscles. So on our next inhale, let's take a tuck through the pelvis, sending the tips of our fingers, the tips of our index fingers up towards the sky. And next exhale, we can release down to neutral. So our fingertips and thumbs come back to the same plane. A big inhale, we can once again tip that pelvic bone up towards the sky, with our fingertips pointing up towards the ceiling here. Let's do a couple more of these going at our own pacing. Just paying attention to how this feels on our low back as we change a little bit of that pelvic position. We're tilting to send those fingertips up towards the sky and exhaling as we bring those hands back parallel. Let's get one more here. And last one. From here, we're going to come back to that neutral position. And we're going to bring those hands back to support up the sides of the mat here. On our next big inhale, we're going to draw that left foot away from our center. Heel is going to skate away from us here towards the bottom of the mat. From here we can pull back to that starting point and send the opposite leg away, just skating those heels away from center. Alternating through these leg extensions. We're going to focus on taking this slow and controlled, floating those feet back to our starting point. Check in with our core here. We're going to try to keep those hips parallel up towards the ceiling this whole time. Imagine you have like a cup of your favorite drink resting on top of our lower core here. We want to keep it nice and stable without spilling a single drop. Let's get one more. While we're ready, we'll come on back to our starting point here. Once we're back at the starting point, we'll plant those feet down. We're going to begin by lifting that left leg up into our tabletop position and tapping back down through those toes to lift on the opposite side, alternating through these leg lifts. We're sending those shins parallel to the ceiling. This is a great time to check in with our core. We're going to be pulling our belly button back towards our spine or bracing through our center. Imagine that we are balancing that cup of coffee on our stomachs here. We keep ourselves balanced and keep that coffee balanced by bracing through our core. Let's get two more each side. We're going to add on in one. When we're ready, we'll reset both of those feet. We're going to bring our ankles together. We're going to open up our knees to the sides of the room. And we're going to try to lift our legs up as one back up into that tabletop position. Knees straddling to the edges of the mat. And lower down to tap through our feet. We can bring our hands into play a little bit by pressing those palms into the mat beside us to find our balance here. If we're finding that it's a little bit tricky, we might try readjusting that pillow or Pilates ball here. We're tapping those toes down and then lifting those knees and feet parallel to each other. Check in with our core engagement here. Make sure we're still bracing through our center. And we're here for 3. On our last one, I want us to meet up at this top point here. Beautiful work. When we're ready, let's meet up at this top point here. We're going to pulse those knees out towards the corners of the mat, holding in this lifted position. Ankles can stay together. We might notice this once again challenges our balance. That's perfect. Embrace the ability to counteract through our core engagement here. We're here for 3. When we're ready, let's tap those feet back on down to the mat. We're going to glue our knees together, glue our ankles together, and we're going to lift both of those legs on up into our tabletop position. We're going to hold here, keeping our shins parallel to the ceiling. From here, on our next inhale, let's extend through that left leg, pointing it long down towards the bottom of the mat. Let's pull it back to tabletop position and extend through the opposite leg. Once again, pointing through those toes, lowering that leg on down to the mat. Check in with our core here. We might notice it's a little bit more difficult to balance. We're going to press through our palms and use that core engagement to keep ourselves stable here. Let's get 3 more each side. Big inhale as we extend those legs long, lowering on down to the mat, and exhale as we pull back to center. We're here for 2. Beautiful work. And last one. Let's pull both of those legs back into tabletop when we have the chance. We're going to meet back here at this point, ankles together and knees together. From here, next big inhale. Let's extend both legs long, pointing through the toes, lowering on down to the mat. Exhaling back into that tabletop position. Keeping this movement really slow and controlled for 5. Once again, check in with our core, make sure we're bracing through our center. You can use those audible breaths to help us keep correct postural alignment. And we're here for 2. And last one. Beautiful work. When we're ready to pull back into that tabletop position. From here, let's hold those knees up at this top point. We're going to take a big inhale. We're going to lower through that left leg, keeping that 90-90 in our knee, dropping it down to the sides of our mat, with keeping our core stable here. So we're just lowering it down as much as we can while keeping ourselves balanced on this Pilates block. Working through those hips a little bit. You can think about like opening through a book. We're opening that book, dropping that page on down to the side, and then turning the next page. Let's get 2 more here. Beautiful work. Last one. Let's bring those knees back up to our top point here. From here, we're going to keep those knees together, but we're going to send our feet towards the corners of the mat, towards the sides of the mat, keeping our knees together. Think about opening through a gate, just sending those ankles out towards opposite sides of the mat. We're here for 3. And last one. Beautiful work. Alright, let's put both of those feet down to the sides of the mat. We're going to send our feet out towards the corners of the mat. They can stay just a little bit further away from palms distance away from our booties. We're going to stay resting on this Pilates ball. We'll bring those hands back to the sides of our bodies to stabilize us once again. We're going to make sure those knees are pointing up towards the ceiling. On our next big inhale, let's take a tuck through the pelvis, and we're going to lift up our hips towards the sky, squeezing through those glutes, sending our hips towards the ceiling. We can lower back down, releasing onto that Pilates ball. And the next big exhale, once again, sending those hips up towards the ceiling, squeezing through those glutes. Wide stance through those feet, and lowering back down. Let's take a couple more of these, going at the pacing of our own breath. Sending our hips up towards the sky, squeezing through those glutes at that top point. Finding our core engagement here by bracing through our center. And last two. One. Alrighty, we'll come up to that top point of this position. We're going to freeze here, and we're going to squeeze and unsqueeze through those glutes, finding a little bit of pulse in this position. This is a really great one for those deep core muscles, really great one for building through that posterior chain. And we're here for 5. And last 3. Beautiful work. We can release back onto that Pilates ball. We can lose that Pilates ball from now, so if we want to take it from out from underneath our back. Now's a great time to grab some water. And we're going to take a little tuck through the knees and rock and roll on up before we head into our next track. So for our next track, we are going to need that Pilates block. On our way there, we can totally grab some water. Come into a 4-point position here. So for this 4-point position, hands will stack underneath shoulders, knees will stack underneath hips. We're going to take a lift through that left knee, and we're going to rest it on top of our Pilates block from here. We're still going to keep it stacking underneath our hips. As we're doing this, we're going to keep our line of vision looking right at our fingertips here. We're going to extend that right leg back behind us, pointing through the toes. Before we begin through this movement, we're going to think about finding a very stable position through our torso here. So we want to think about keeping our backs straight, keeping our shoulders and hips shining down towards the mat. Once again, if somebody came and set a cup of coffee on our back, could we keep it nice and stable? We'll brace through our core here, pulling that belly button up towards the sky, up towards our spine. And when we're ready, we'll begin by inhaling to lift through that working leg, sending it up parallel to our hips. We'll lower back down through those legs, pointing those toes down to the mat. We'll inhale to lift and exhale to lower. As we're doing this, we're just lifting that leg tall enough so that we get that stretch through our glutes, but we don't want to see a little bend in our back here. We're just lifting it enough that we get that full range of motion without losing our stability. Beautiful work. We're here for 3. We're going to add on in 2. And last one, let's lower on down through those legs. We're going to tap those toes on down to the mat. We're going to extend our opposite arm away from us, pointing through those fingertips. From here, we're going to inhale to lift through that arm, send it up parallel to our shoulders, and sweep it back down to our starting point. Once again, keeping ourselves stable through our torso, making sure we're not spilling a single drop of that drink. Check in with our core, make sure we're bracing here. Keeping that belly button pulled up towards our spine. Here for 3. We're going to add From here, we are going to tap our elbow to our knee, opposite arm, opposite leg. As we do this, we're pulling our spine up towards the sky. Nice big inhale. We're extending fingertips and toes towards opposite sides of the room. Exhale, knees and elbows tapped together. Keeping this movement really slow and controlled. Pacing it to those audible breaths of inhaling to extend and lengthen through our bodies. Exhaling as we tap our knee towards our elbow. Beautiful work. Let's get 3 more here. And last 2. And last one, I want you to meet me at that top point, extending those fingertips and toes long to the sides of the room. From here, we're going to flatten out our feet, curling our toes in towards our center. We're holding at this top point. Let's start a little circle in our hands and toes. Challenging your balance here a little bit. Squeeze through those glutes to keep us lifted. We can take that line of vision, looking at the fingertips resting on the mat here. We're going to pulse it out in 5. Let's reverse the direction of those little circles we're making. Here for 3. Keep curling those toes in towards our center. Come up to this top point. We're going to pulse here by lifting and lowering ever so slightly, finding a little tiny range of motion here, just about an inch. And here for 5. When we're ready, let's replace those hands and toes back on down to the mat. We're going to switch sides here. On our way to switching sides, we'll take that knee off the Pilates block first. We can bring our ankles together, widen the straddle of our knees, sit back onto our heels, and bring our chest on down to the mat. Pause here in child's pose before we go on over to the opposite side. This is a great time to shake out those wrists, shake out those shoulders. When we're ready, next big exhale, let's walk those hands in towards our center. We'll come on back up into our 4-point position. We'll swap sides with that Pilates block, so give our other side some love here. We'll rest our knee on top of that Pilates block once again. Extending that leg that was just stabilizing back behind us, pointing through those toes. Hands will stack underneath shoulders here. We'll take our line of vision to look right at our fingertips. We're once again going to begin by inhaling, lifting that leg up parallel to our hips, and lowering down slow. Anytime we're doing any of these movements, as we lower through those legs, we want to think about our toes being feathers, just floating on down to the earth. If toes being feathers doesn't work for us, we can also think about moving through molasses. Moving ever so slowly. Keeping these movements really slow and controlled for 3. Toes on down at that bottom point to stabilize us. And we're going to bring our arms into the action here. We're extending that opposite arm out away from us, pointing through those fingertips. Lifting it parallel with our shoulder. Before sweeping it back down to that starting point. We'll keep that line of vision looking at our stabilizing fingertips. Check in with our core. Once again, we're bracing through our center. Pulling that belly button up towards our spine. And we're here for 3. We'll bring this movement together in 2. And last one. When we're ready,
We're going to bring opposite elbow towards opposite knee. Big inhale to extend both towards opposite sides of the room. As we're doing this, you might notice that your balance is a little bit stickier on one side than the other. That's totally normal. Just become conscious of it, be aware of it. And we're here for 5. We're inhaling as we're extending long, and exhaling as we crunch that knee towards our elbow. And let's get 3 more here. We're going to freeze at that top point in 2. And last one. Meet me here at our top point, sending those fingertips and toes lifted. We're going to take a little curl through those toes, flattening out through our feet here. We're going to start with some itsy bitsy baby circles, squeezing through those glutes, checking with our torso stability here. Whatever our favorite drink is, are we keeping it nice and stable without spilling a single drop? Let's reverse directions in 5. And last 3. And reverse directions. We're going to stay lifted in 5. Hold lifted here. We're going to find that little pulse. Keep those toes curled in towards our center. We're here for 5. And 3. 2. And 1. Lower on down. You can lose that Pilates block here. From here, we'll stay in this little 4-point position. We bring those hands underneath our shoulders. Knees will stack underneath our hips. From here, we are going to take a little bend through that left knee. We're going to lift it up, sending it parallel to our hips. And we're closing back down to that starting point. Once again, keeping your torso nice and stable. Line of vision's looking at those fingertips. Our chest and hips are shining down towards the mat. Towards our elbow, we're going to find some half circles, moving that knee in a circular motion and working through those hips. And we're here for 3. And last one. Beautiful work. Let's reset those knees back down. We're going to finish out on this side. We're going to lift up that knee to that top point, parallel to our hips. We're going to inhale to extend that leg, pointing those toes to the front of the room. We're going to ground that foot down. From here, on our next exhale, we'll lower those glutes towards our heels, and then pressing back up to that starting point. Let's take a couple of these going at the pacing of our own breath. Once again, we're keeping that line of vision, looking at our fingertips here. And last 2. Beautiful work. Let's come on up to the top of this last one. From here, we're going to take a big inhale. Lift that leg on up, keeping that leg straight if we can. Bending through that knee and back to our starting point. Amazing work. We're going to give our opposite side some love. So once again, we're going to begin with those fire hydrants. Keeping that bend in the knee, we're lifting it up parallel to our hips, pointing through those toes, and lowering back to starting point. We're trying to keep our hips parallel down to the mat throughout this whole movement. Find a range of motion that's a nice challenge. circles into. And last one. Beautiful work. When we're ready, we're moving that we're moving our knee towards our elbow, finding those little half circles here. Pointing through those toes, keeping our chest shining down towards the mat. Checking with our core here. And last two. Last one, we're going to replace those knees back to starting point. From here, we're once again going to lift that knee up parallel to our hip, extending through that leg, pointing through those toes. We're pointing those toes to the front of the room. From here, we can exhale, dropping our glutes over our heels before inhaling to press forward. Let's do 3 of these at the pacing of our own breath. And last one. Let's press on back up to that starting point. From here, we're going to lift through that leg, take a bend in the knee, and lower back to starting. From here, we're going to stay in that 4-point position. We're going to come into a tiny little bit of freedom of flow in between our cat and cows. We'll inhale to arch the back, tuck the pelvis, take a look at the knees. We'll exhale to bow our belly buttons on down to the mat, take a look up at the sky. I invite you to find those audible breaths here. Invite breath work into our practice. Breath is the fuel of our movement. So as we're inhaling, we're taking in that breath that allows us to extend and open up. And as we're exhaling, we're dispelling all that does not serve us. So try those audible breaths for our last little bit of flow here. Inhaling as we arch the back, tuck the pelvis, finding our cat position. And exhaling as we bow to find cow, dropping our belly buttons on down towards the ground. When we're ready, let's return back to neutral spine together, halfway between that cat and cow. We're going to bring our ankles together, widen the straddle of our knees, sit back onto our heels, and walk those hands up towards the tippy top of our mat. Here in child's pose, we're going to wrap up our class for today. Since we get to wrap up the week together, I always think this is a great time to set an intention for the weekend ahead of us. To have a little reflection of the week that we just spent. The day ahead of us is this page and beautiful chapter that we're in. So be aware of what we're writing today. Be aware of how we're showing up. What story do our actions tell? We can set an intention for what page we want to write today. We can take a moment here, thank our bodies for the hard work they did for us this week. The hard work they'll continue to do for us today. The hard work they do for us every single day. And thank ourselves for showing up to Core and Restore today, checking in with our bodies, beginning the day by prioritizing our health. We can set that intention for the day ahead of us, the weekend ahead of us. Bring it to the forefront of our mind. Let it rest right behind our eyes. Let it flow into our actions today, into our interactions, into how we show up here, how we show up in our lives, to the people that we care about. And when we're ready, let's exhale. We'll walk those hands in towards our chest and come back up to the day. That's going to wrap up Core and Restore for today. Thank you all so much for being here. I'll stick around for a couple minutes if anybody's got any questions, comments, or concerns. I love feedback. The class is still in its infancy, so I do love what we like, what we don't like. Please let me know. And have a fabulous Friday. Have a very safe weekend, and I'll see you next week.